There's a misconception about confidence. People think it's something you're born with, that some people just have it while others don't. But that's not true. Confidence is not a personality trait. It's a skill. It's not given, it's earned. And like any skill, it requires practice, discipline, and effort. Think about the most confident person you know. They weren't always like that. They built their confidence step by step through small, intentional actions. When you make a promise to someone, it carries weight. If you tell a friend you'll be there for them, you show up. If you tell your boss you'll finish a project by a deadline, you do everything you can to meet it. We take commitments to others seriously because we know that trust is built on reliability. But what about the promises we make to ourselves? Most people don't realize this, but self-confidence is built the same way trust is. If you continuously break promises to yourself, you're sending a powerful message to your own mind. I can't rely on myself. And over time, that erodes confidence. It's not that people don't believe in themselves because they lack talent or intelligence. It's because deep down, they don't trust their own word. Think about the last time you set a goal. Maybe it was waking up early to go to the gym, reading a book every day, or cutting out distractions to focus on your work. In that moment, you made a promise to yourself. But what happened next? Did you follow through, or did you find an excuse? Every time you tell yourself you'll do something and you don't, you chip away at your own confidence. You start to see yourself as someone who sets goals but never follows through. Someone who dreams but never acts. And the worst part? You start believing that's just who you are. That maybe you're not disciplined enough, not strong enough, not capable enough. But none of that is true. The only thing holding you back is a pattern of broken promises. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine that every time you set a goal, you actually follow through. You say you'll wake up early and you do. You say you'll work out and you do. You say you'll start that business and you take the first step, no matter how small. What happens then? You start seeing yourself as someone who does what they say, someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted, not just by others, but by yourself. That's where confidence is built, not in grand gestures, not in public displays of success, but in the small, quiet moments when no one is watching, when you decide to honor your word, even when it's inconvenient. The key is to start small. If you struggle with keeping promises to yourself, don't set massive goals that feel overwhelming. Instead, focus on something simple but meaningful. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning. Maybe it's reading 5 pages of a book every night. Maybe it's writing down 1 idea a day for a project you care about. Whatever it is, do it. Every single day. No excuses. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building trust. And the more you trust yourself, the more confident you become. But what happens when you mess up? Because, let's be honest, you will. You'll oversleep, you'll skip the gym, you'll procrastinate. It happens. The difference between confident people and those who struggle isn't that they never fail. It's that they don't let failure define them. When you break a promise to yourself, don't make it a pattern. Don't use it as an excuse to give up. Instead, acknowledge it, forgive yourself, and recommit. One missed workout doesn't mean you're not disciplined. One lazy day doesn't mean you're not motivated. What matters is what you do next. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about proving to yourself, day after day, that you can count on you. When you start keeping the promises you make to yourself, everything changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You show up in life with a sense of certainty. Because when you trust yourself, nothing and no one can shake that. Confidence isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about being completely aligned with who you truly are. When your actions reflect your values, you don't have to force confidence. It becomes a natural part of you. But when your actions contradict what you believe in, something feels off. You may not always be able to put it into words, but deep down you'll sense it. And that's where self-doubt starts creeping in. Think about a time when you did something that didn't sit right with you. Maybe you agreed to something you didn't believe in. Maybe you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up. Or maybe you made a decision based on what others expected rather than what you truly want. How did it feel? Uncomfortable? Draining? That's because you were acting out of alignment with your values. And every time you do that, you create a gap between the person you are and the person you pretend to be. The bigger that gap, the more fragile your confidence becomes. On the other hand, when you live in alignment with your values, you feel a sense of inner strength that no amount of external validation can give you. You trust yourself because you know that your actions reflect your beliefs. You don't have to fake confidence because you're already standing on solid ground. The first step to aligning your actions with your values is knowing what those values are. What do you truly stand for? What matters most to you? Many people never take the time to ask themselves these questions, and as a result, they drift through life making decisions based on what others think rather than what they believe. But confidence comes from clarity. When you know your values, decisions become easier, and self-doubt loses its power over you. Once you identify your values, the next step is to assess whether your daily actions reflect them. If you say you value health, but constantly neglect your well-being, there's a misalignment. If you say you value honesty, but often find yourself telling little lies to avoid conflict, there's a misalignment. If you say you value growth, but continue to stay in situations that hold you back, there's a misalignment. And every misalignment chips away at your confidence. It's not about being perfect. It's about making a conscious effort every day to close the gap between what you believe and how you behave. The more aligned your actions are with your values, the stronger your confidence becomes. But here's the hard part. Sometimes living in alignment with your values means making difficult choices. It might mean saying no to things that don't serve you, even when it's uncomfortable. It might mean distancing yourself from people who no longer fit the person you're becoming. It might mean taking risks, speaking up, or standing alone. It's easy to compromise your values for approval. It's tempting to take the easy road, but the problem with that is, even if the world applauds you, you'll never truly feel confident because you'll know deep down that you're not being true to yourself. Real confidence comes from integrity. It comes from knowing that your words, actions, and beliefs are in sync. When you live that way, you don't need to seek validation from others because you already have something far more powerful, self-respect. And when you respect yourself, confidence is no longer something you need to chase. It becomes something you naturally embody. Because confidence isn't about what you show the world, it's about how you feel when you're alone with yourself. Most people believe that confidence comes from success, that the more we win, the more we believe in ourselves. But that's not true. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding failure, it comes from facing it, learning from it, and overcoming it. The people who are the most confident aren't the ones who have never failed. They're the ones who have failed the most and kept going anyway. Failure isn't the opposite of confidence, it's the foundation of it. Every setback, every mistake, every rejection, it all plays a role in building the resilience that leads to unshakable confidence. But most people see failure as a sign that they're not good enough, not talented enough, or not capable enough. And because they fear failure, they avoid situations where they might fail. They stay in their comfort zones. They only take on challenges where they're guaranteed to succeed. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the opportunity to grow. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't just stand up one day and start running. They fall over and over again, but they don't stop. They don't say, maybe walking just isn't for me. They get up and try again. And eventually they succeed. Now imagine if we carried that same mindset into everything we do. If we saw failure not as proof that we're not good enough, but as proof that we're learning. If we understood that every time we fail, we're getting one step closer to success. Look at the most successful people in the world, entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, leaders. They didn't get to where they are because they never failed. They got there because they failed over and over again. And instead of letting failure break their confidence, they used it to make them stronger. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, missed over 9,000 shots in his career. He lost nearly 300 games. He was trusted to take the game-winning shot 26 times and missed. And yet he's known as one of the best players in history. Why? Because he didn't let failure stop him. He learned from every missed shot, every loss, every mistake. The same applies to every area of life. Confidence doesn't come from getting everything right. It comes from knowing that even when things go wrong, you have the ability to recover. It comes from trusting yourself. Not because you're perfect, but because you've proven to yourself time and time again that failure isn't the end. The biggest breakthroughs in life don't happen when everything is going smoothly. They happen when you hit a wall, fail miserably, and decide to get back up anyway. Confidence is built in those moments, not when things are easy, but when things are hard and you push through. So how do you start embracing failure instead of fearing it? First, reframe how you see it. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Ask, what will I learn if I fail? Instead of seeing failure as a dead end, see it as a lesson. Every failure contains valuable information about what works, what doesn't, and how to improve. Second, take action despite the fear. Fear of failure will never completely disappear. The difference between confident people and those who struggle isn't that they don't feel fear. It's that they don't let fear stop them. They take action anyway. And finally, remember that failure is never final unless you give up. The only real failure is refusing to try. Every mistake, every setback, every rejection, it's all part of the process. And the more you embrace failure, the more confident you become. Because once you stop fearing failure, you realize there's nothing in this world that can truly hold you back. The people you surround yourself with have a greater impact on your confidence than you might realize. Whether you're aware of it or not, the voices you hear every day, your friends, your family, your coworkers, shape the way you see yourself and what you believe is possible. If you spend time with people who lift you up, who challenge you to grow, and who remind you of your potential, your confidence will thrive. But if you surround yourself with negativity, doubt, and discouragement, your confidence will slowly erode. We are all influenced by the environment we're in. If you walk into a room full of people who are driven, ambitious, and constantly pushing themselves to be better, you'll naturally feel inspired to do the same. But if you're surrounded by people who complain, make excuses, and settle for less than they're capable of, you'll start to adopt those same habits. That's why the people in your life matter, because they either reinforce your belief in yourself or they weaken it. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Do they support your growth or do they make you feel small? Do they celebrate your success or do they secretly hope you fail? These are hard questions to ask, but they are necessary if you want to build unshakable confidence. One of the most dangerous things you can do is keep people in your life out of habit rather than intention. Just because someone has been in your life for years doesn't mean they deserve to stay. If they constantly discourage you, bring negativity, or make you doubt yourself, it might be time to create some distance. It doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means you care about yourself enough to protect your energy. But it's not just about removing the wrong people. It's about actively seeking out the right ones. Look for people who inspire you, people who have the mindset, discipline, and confidence you want to develop, people who believe in you even when you doubt yourself. When you surround yourself with the right people, you'll notice a shift in your own confidence, not because they're giving it to you, but because they're helping you see what's already within you. And it's not just about what they say, it's about how they make you feel. The right people will challenge you to be better, but they won't tear you down in the process. They'll push you, but they won't make you feel like you're not enough. They'll hold you accountable, but they'll do it with encouragement, not criticism. One of the best things you can do for your confidence is to find mentors, people who are ahead of you in life, business, or personal growth. And they don't have to be famous or successful in the traditional sense. They just need to be people who embody the qualities you admire. Having someone to guide you, challenge you, and remind you of your potential is one of the fastest ways to build confidence. But mentorship isn't just about receiving, it's also about giving. Be the person who lifts others up. Support your friends in their goals. Encourage those around you. When you help others build their confidence, you naturally strengthen your own. Confidence isn't built in isolation. It grows in an environment of encouragement, challenge, and belief. Choose your circle wisely because the people around you will either fuel your confidence or drain it. And when you surround yourself with the right people, you won't just build confidence, you'll build a life that reflects the best version of yourself. Most people spend their lives seeking approval. They want to be liked, respected, and admired. They shape their decisions around what others might think. They hesitate to speak up, to take risks, or to chase their dreams because the fear of judgment holds them back. But the truth is, no matter how hard you try, you will never please everyone. And even if you do, at what cost? Living for the approval of others means giving away your power. It means allowing someone else's opinion to dictate your actions, your beliefs, and your self-worth. And the problem with that is, opinions change. One moment people might cheer for you, and the next they might criticize you. If your confidence is built on their approval, then you'll always be at their mercy. But if your confidence is built on your own belief in yourself, then nothing can shake you. The most successful, confident people in the world aren't the ones who never face criticism. They're the ones who have learned to ignore it when necessary. They understand that not everyone will agree with them, and they don't need them to. They trust their own judgment. They listen to feedback, but they don't let it define them. Think about some of the greatest innovators in history. The people who changed the world, whether in business, science, art, or leadership, were often ridiculed at first. Their ideas were dismissed. Their dreams were called impossible. But they didn't let that stop them. They believed in themselves when no one else did. And because of that, they succeeded. Now imagine what would have happened if they had let the opinions of others hold them back. Imagine if they had chosen to stay silent, to play it safe, to fit in rather than stand out. The world would have lost out on their brilliance, not because they weren't capable, but because they listened to people who didn't see their vision. So ask yourself, how many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because of what others might say? How many dreams have you put on hold? How much of your life have you spent trying to gain approval from people who don't even understand what you're trying to do? The harsh truth is, most people aren't even thinking about you as much as you think they are. They are too busy worrying about their own lives, their own insecurities, their own fears. And even when they do judge you, it usually has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of their own limitations. So why let their opinions control you? Why let the fear of what they think stop you from doing what you want? The only opinion that truly matters is your own, because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your choices. You're the one who has to wake up every morning and look in the mirror. You're the one who has to answer the question, did I live my life on my terms, or did I let others dictate it for me? This doesn't mean you should ignore all feedback. Growth comes from learning, listening, and improving. But there's a difference between considering valuable advice and constantly seeking validation. The key is to trust yourself first, to build a strong enough foundation of self-belief that no amount of outside noise can shake you. Once you stop chasing approval, you become unstoppable. You act with confidence, not hesitation. You speak your mind, not what you think others want to hear. You take risks because you know that failure is better than living a life controlled by fear. And most importantly, you give yourself the freedom to be exactly who you are, without apology.